all the attendees on YouTube who have joined us for the webinar, that is quarantine webinars. The topic is Beyond the Bottom Line, CFO's Perspective on People Impact of COVID-19. A note to the attendees on YouTube that we would be having a Q&A session towards the end of the panel discussion. You may share your questions using the chat box on YouTube, and on your behalf, I will direct those questions to specific speakers. I request the speakers to stay on mute for a couple of minutes. Thank you. And as most of you might be aware, we are doing these webinars, which is quarantine webinars, every Friday from 4 p.m. So any organization or institute that wishes to partner with us in this journey of webinars may send in their queries to Bek Shastri. His email ID is showcased on the slide, which is visible. And now let's move forward. Okay, so people who have joined us for the first time may not be aware about what creating values is. So a brief introduction for their benefit. Well, we are creating values. Creating values is an ISO certified management consulting company. We provide strategic advisory services to organizations across industries. The four consulting domain in which we provide our advisory services are people and culture consulting, which is our HR advisory arm, technology and risk consulting, which is our IT consulting arm, business strategy consulting, and brand strategy consulting. We have also started executive search services so we can assist organizations in fulfilling their crucial positions in the coming time. So do get in touch with us if you have any queries about the services that we are providing, as well as about the executive search services. We've been talking about quarantine webinars, and another addition to it, it is Webinar Fridays. So what are Webinar Fridays, and what have we been doing when it comes to Webinar Fridays? So we've completed multiple panel discussions around around topics which have formed the core of the discussion, of boardroom discussions. They are not layman topics. They are not very simplistic in nature. Rather, they are something that even business leaders are themselves, grappling with. So if you can see the kind of, titles that we had chosen and the curated list of speakers, because we've always gone to industry and domain experts who were well suited for the designated topic to share their viewpoints with you, to share some industry insights and observations with you, so that better informed decisions can be taken by other organizations as well. It's like a case study in making. So we all are a part of history. Let's try to help each other out. Let's build a collaborative culture and together strengthen the ecosystem. So moving forward, yes. So one thing we always do is we always share the topic of our upcoming webinar with our attendees so that they can make a note of it. They can start sending in their registrations. So next week, that is on 5th of June at 4 o'clock, our topic is best practices adopted by organizations as offices reopen. Now that the lockdown is being eased out, so organizations are resuming operations. So what are the key things that they should, take a note of? What are the practices that they should follow? How do they ensure social distancing norms? How do they make sure that their employees feel motivated, that their physical and mental well-being is taken care of? And obviously to boost productivity so that the businesses can stabilize. So for that, we'll be inviting HR leaders from varied industries, and they would be joining us for the panel discussion. Please take a note of it. It will be on 5th of June, which is next Friday at 4 p.m. Now let's start with today's webinar, the panel discussion, Beyond the Bottom Line, CFO's Perspective on People Impact of COVID-19. I welcome our esteemed speakers. They will be sharing with us some expert views, insights on how human capital has taken the center stage in these challenging times, and now business leaders will be strategizing to sharpen their human capital and leverage it for boosting business. They themselves hold critical roles in their respective organizations and have been tirelessly working throughout the lockdown period to ensure that operations are resumed smoothly post-lockdown. They have been at the heart of boardroom discussions, wherein the future course of not only businesses, but also HR strategies are laid out and deliberated upon. The session is formatted as a panel discussion. I am Sujata, the Associate Director of Creating Values, and I have this opportunity of welcoming our esteemed speakers. We have with us Mr. T.R. Maheshwari, CEO and CFO of Sahyadri Industries. He is also the non-executive and non-independent director of Somani Ceramics. He is a veteran and someone who's looked up at by many industry leaders. He has worked in leadership roles such as president, COO, CFO, CEO, etc. at many companies. He possesses rich and diversified experience in strategic planning, finance and accounts, investments, audit, manufacturing, mergers and acquisitions, to name a few. Our next speaker is Mr. Sushil Batra, the CFO of Relaxo Footwears Limited. He has over 30 years of experience. He has been with Relaxo since 2005. He has been interviewed by and also quoted in multiple publishing forums, including the CFO Summit section of Economic Times. In his own words, being CFO to me means playing the dual role of being a controller and enabler with a broad vision. He advocates that CFO's role should focus on digital transformation with far-sightedness while being proactive for good governance. I also welcome Mr. Manoj Agrawal, COO and CFO at Lok Advisory Services. He comes with rich experience and has held crucial leadership roles in finance and operations with startups and global multi-billion dollar organizations with capital market, investment banking, realty, and manufacturing. To name a few, companies like Orbis Financial Corporation, Deutsche Bank, India Bulls, Capital Partners, etc. Demonstrating ability to streamline business operations to drive growth, increase in efficiency, and bottom line. Mr. Anshul Dureja, who's the MD and CEO of Creating Values, will be moderating the discussion. He has held global leadership positions spanning 6 diverse functions, including HR and sustainability. He is the happiness coach and an author in making. He is popularly known as, and rather truly known as, the Chief Enablement Officer at Creating Values. Let's start with our discussion for today. I now, urge Mr. Anshul Dureja to take over and initiate the discussion.
Thank you, Sujata, for a wonderful introduction of everyone. And it's a privilege to come again on this new round of the Cubinar, as we call it. As we do it every Friday, I think the Friday 4 o'clock have been reserved and nominated for the Creating Values Cubinar. And so thankful for all of the attendees who have joined us today. These really have been very difficult times, of course. And we are seeing a world which none of us has ever seen before. At one side, there is anxiety, and another side, there's optimism to see a new world. These are testing times for everyone, be it businesses or be it employees, be it anyone. At one side, we are dealing with the pandemic health issue, which is how do we ensure the life being, I would say, safeguarded. And also on the second side, how do we make the businesses stand on its feet, something the livelihood which we talk about. And somewhere crucial in between, employees, normal people are struggling in terms of keeping themselves afloat. Nearly every HR professional we know is of working overtime to ensure that people and culture prevails and wins. It's not only about the HR, but also in terms of the management and the leadership. This was time for us, in a way, to bring to fore a CFO's perspective in terms of where do they see this people impact really be. Because in the times to come, probably as the business is open, there would be some leeway which we would be getting on, but probably that would also be a time wherein a lot of personal health, mental health issues might crop on. So how are the organization, particularly at the management level? So we would like to listen to these esteemed panel, and I'm so glad to have a very eminent and great panel with us today. What all iota of the world of financials I know, and I really don't know, but I would say the basic credit of this, all this piece goes to these 3 luminaries. Somebody I have had a privilege of knowing personally over the number of years, Batra, Mr. Maheshwari, and of course, Mr. Manoj. and it's a pleasure for me to invite them over here. So without wasting much of a time, I would just get started and probably start the panel. And as like every panel, I would be asking some of basic questions. I would say to set up the context along with all the panel speakers, and then at the nearly at the end for 15-20 minutes, Sujata can pick up some of the questions you have sent in advance, or you can send it as she mentioned on the YouTube channel itself. So I would go with you, Manoj, first. In terms of the current COVID times have raised the level of anxiety for employees with uncertainties in business cropping up. How can business leaders preserve or regain trust amongst the employees in these testing times? So what are your views in terms of that?
Thanks, Anshul, and thanks everyone on the panel. So, what I feel is that the biggest issue is a trust, and there are various type of trust which typically kicks in into these kind of difficult times. So, one is a physical trust, whereby people should feel that wherever they are, either in office or in home or outside of their office and home, they should feel that wherever they are going, it should be a safe place. The second is the financial trust, whereby people should feel that whatever as a salary I'm getting or whatever is my assets, they should be preserved and they should be safe and secure. The third thing is basically about the emotional trust, which comes from both not only from the family but also from the employers and also from colleagues. Because what happened that in these crisis time, if there is no emotional trust, then people would be uncomfortable and they may think of doing something else which is not right for them. And the fourth one, which I feel is a digital trust, which is to my mind is coming to is that typically whether my information is secured, whether my company's information is secured. So from the employer's point of view, maybe the client information and the company information security comes into play. From the employee's point of view, their own personal information, whether this is secured and safe. So trust basically is very important, and if we are managing trust, so it will be a great help. Forget about whether we are basically in a position to continue running the company for a few years. That's secondary, but trust is very important.
Thank you, Manoj. Mr. Maheshri, will you like to add something on the trust aspect which Manoj
Yeah,
made?
yeah. See, adding to what Mr. Manoj has said, actually, the thing is, with the trust, the important is we have to communicate properly with the employees. That's very important. What is the impact of COVID to the organization? How one is going to handle that? And the continuity of the employees, that's why important. See, there may be some impact on either side, but the important is how you handle the communication. If you are transparent, if you're open and telling that these are the issues and we have to handle it collectively and take care how we have to take it forward. The second thing is what is coming in this COVID, that is given an opportunity also to the employees as well as to employers. Now, if you look, see, up till now, the employees used to travel, discuss, do a lot of, the discussion, which now with this COVID has given it the new opening, and which is you have to be, the virtual, the conferencing and those things. And with that virtual conferencing, the reach to the market, whether it is a distributors or the dealers or the vendors, is improved. Because what happened in the past, unless until personally he doesn't go, he is not being entertained. Now, even a senior person, whether it is a MD or the CEO or the CEO, whoever may be, he can tap anybody that there is an issue, and then there is a conference call, and then those issues are getting sorted. So he get a more confidence by doing this. So that what, the anxiety gets reduced to that extent. And second thing is, the important is, if you see, if you are very open and transparent and saying there are issues because of the COVID, and we will stream together, we'll handle together, that will help much, much better. So the communication is very, very important, and communication is not one go. It has to be continuously, because, if you say everything one time, they may, get little bit, the disturbed. Let it be slow, visually that communication has to pass on to those, all the employees, all the vendors, in my opinion, it's not only the employees. See, they're concerned to the vendors also. There's a concern to your dealers also. So everybody has to be, taken into that and then taken it forward. That's what I feel.
I think you summed it up. So communication was one, confidence building was one, and probably seeing it as an interweaved action, not as a singular action, either on part of the businesses or on part of the employees. I think that was the big takeaway from you. Batra ji, my next question is to you. So there is always a push and pull between business demand, because we all want businesses to reopen ASAP, but in the employees' expectation, there is also a good amount of anxiety. So in your opinion, how this could be balanced? And starting with you, and then probably Manoj, you can add it up. But Batraji, you go first.
As far as business demand is concerned, I think we have to divide the total business in two parts. One is the essential and second is the non-essential. So essential, I don't see there is any issue. I think they get the opportunity and they are growing and they are getting whatever they never expected. They are in a better position. So non-essential, I think it's tough time for them. And company like us, we are in midway. We are neither essential, we are neither non-essential. So I think we are not in a bad position, neither in a good position. So that's why expectations of employee will also be as company is going to deliver in next year. I think that if you're in, say, in pharma company or essential or FMCG, definitely expectations of employee. I think I was talking to someone, they got in this tough time, they were expecting 50% increment and they got at least 25-30%. That is the one exceptional. But the company which are passing through tough time, definitely expectations are very low. First, I think your job should be saved. I think the Manoj started the trust, communication and transparency. I think it's tough time for all, either corporate or individual. But good company with good track record, I think people are not expecting much. They are not expecting any increment, no bonus. I think everyone is mentally prepared, but everyone is looking, their jobs are safe. And I think most of the employer is also thinking on the same direction, at least jobs should be saved. So that is the expectation every employee is having for this financial year. And I hope most of the company will deliver there, subject to their cash flow and P&L. And I think it depends upon the management philosophy and how much people savvy you are. I think it's a mix of so many things. But I think from employee point of view, everyone is looking at their jobs should be saved and no further growth, and no one is expecting that part. I think from
the true words of a CFO, nothing better than that. Manoj, will you like to add on what Batraji just mentioned?
So I think Batraji has summarized it well. The only thing which I would like to add, which is also covered by Maheshwari, that communication is very important tool in this particular situation. So it's like this, that if a company has a problem, but at the same time, they have to take the employees into confidence, and it should be with a complete honesty. So no increment or less increment or some pay cut, I think employees will take it positively, because everybody knows that if company is not earning, how will company pay to them as per their expectation, right? So expectation can be moderated, it can be lowered, provided there is a confidence between the employee and the employer. And also whatever we have, it's like this कि मिल बांट के खाएंगे, right? तो अगर मुझे पता है कि मेरा खर्चा सपोज 100 रुपए है और अगर मेरे पास 50 रुपए हैं, तो I should be giving that kind of a confidence to everybody who is a stakeholder, that we will swing together or we will be drowned together, but with a communication, so that people are taking it positively.
Okay, thank you, Manoj. In one of the last webinars, Maheshwari ji, I attended as a speaker in it was a PhD webinar, and Mr. Salil Bhandari and I were co-panelists, and he touched upon a very interesting word, something I would like to ask you. In terms of financial literacy, he touched upon. And that in these times, it is very important for organizations to really, I would say, focus on financial literacy. Reason being that not lot of employees really are aware about taxation, or how do they do investments, how do they do investment, what are the investment options. So what is the norm? Yani, are you also getting these done? Will this become a normal training module in the companies going forward, or in the current time? What is the essence?
So, Anshul, what the question you have raised is very important in the present context, even in the previous also. See, the point is that employees in general, other than the finance and accounts, they are not, the taxation savvy or the investment savvy or those things. And though we have not included this as one of the training program or the induction program or this thing, but definitely after seeing your question or after hearing your question, and when I went into that detail, I found that there's more merits into that, and we have to include into that. Number one. Number two is, nowadays, the finance is not only for the finance people. If you see the finance for the, be it a technical, be it a other, the people, finance is very important. And if you do not plan, be it a investment, be it your children education, be it your medical need, be it your retirement benefit, the requirements, that will be nightmare. And sometimes, we just go on, the certain, the news articles or the certain, tips, what it comes into the market, and we invest into that. And in turn, it happens to be a nightmare. And then, all anxiety, all depression, all those things, accumulated. So what I understand, what I feel that it's a very important tool, and I feel that workplace is an important place where they get the major part of the income by way of the salaries, and they know the importance of that income. And if the employer give the better training, where to invest, what to invest, how to plan, those are things, then it would be very helpful to them. Number one. Number two, if employer put the time into that, employer also get a benefit. If the employee is not worried much about their finances, much about planning and those things, then the anxiety get reduced. And then that at the workplace, they are more the towards the work, and that increases the bondness also with the employee and employer. That is one. Number two is, by doing the better financial planning, your depression and those get removed, so you will not have a sick leave, you will not have other things, so your productivity on the workplace also get increased. So I feel that financial literacy is an important training module. One has to go into that, and that will help to the employee and employer, employee at their personal level, employer at, if a person is tension free from the financing and those things, will definitely help into. That's what I feel.
Maheshwari ji. Batra ji, I hope you would agree with what Maheshwari ji said, because I think he caught the right chords about it. But I would like you to share some thoughts about this also. And also, secondly, another part B to this question. Is it a CFO's responsibility or a CHRO responsibility, or finance and HR have to come together to ensure that the financial literacy is worked out?
I fully agree with Maheshwari ji. I think finance and HR is the best combination for any changes in the organization. No doubt about that. If finance and HR work together for the people. Only HR can't work, because finance is, if they are 40, so they can deliver better. No doubt about that part. But financial literacy, I think we in our organization, one part, I think I will divide in two parts: finance for non-finance and financial literacy. These are the two separate things. So we are used to train our people in the organization. Finance for non-finance means they should understand P&L, they should understand the balance sheet, so that they can be more aware about the working of the company. So that training we are used to give to our people, and then it's advantage to us also. We can convince them, we can tell them, and we can I think ask them more logical discussion from the non-finance people, either it's a sale, manufacturing, or so many other departments. So this we are used to. But financial literacy from individual point of view, I think we should divide it in two parts. One part is the income part, another is a cash flow. I have seen accounts of finance people are more conservative and they know better planning than other people. That's my perception. So other department people really, they have better income than finance people, but their cash flow, they're always in EMI or they are using credit cards so frequently. So their cash flow in most of the cases I've seen, it's really mismanaged. So for any prosperity, if you have good income but your cash flow is not supporting you, that means you are not literate. You have some, I think you need a lot of training on that part. And in these tough time, which I think it's going to come in this year, is going to be tough for everyone. So income is also challenge, and cash flow definitely it's going to be a big challenge. Either you have commitment, your personal commitment, EMI, loans, and so many things. So we have to divide. Cash flow is most important part for day-to-day working, and then income, of course, nothing much in your hand. I think for most of the professional, salary is the main source of income. So it requires really lot of training to the people along with HR, of course. And in tough time, I think it's tough time for company also. I think I was discussing with our just in the internal system. So we are a good cash flow company, but P&L is definitely it's going to be under pressure. So how to manage that thing? So same with the individual also. Your income may be under pressure, but if you have a good cash flow, I think you will be in a better position to manage. So I think we all have, HR and finance will work together on this.
Thank you. Batra
To
ji.
add this,
Yes.
Anshul,
Yes.
it is a HR initiative and finance has to support. And second thing is, it's not because of this COVID time, but otherwise also it is
Rightly
necessary
also,
that it should be having a good training program.
Yeah, I totally echo it. In fact, Batra ji, my next piece is about digitization, and what better to start with the perspective that we all are used to so many events which are physical, and right now we are doing this digitally, this entire webinar and webinar, as we say it. Roughly around 70 odd people are there currently watching all of you on live on YouTube, and they are posing some tough questions. So my request to all of the attendees over there, don't just say don't just see this. I would say ask as many tough questions as you can to all of these three people. So Batraji, on digitization, I am aware of being working with you and Relaxo over last so many years. Relaxo has done so many work in digitization space, but I'm just generally asking, can you share that? And it's really, I would say, very obvious that in the times to come, IT ecosystems have to move beyond a technology to a digitization with the entire processes of the organization, businesses. What do you see would be the skills upgradation which needs to be sharpened for the human capital?
I think I will start with practical example in our organization. So our team used to come on all Sundays in April and mid-May to finalization of balance sheet. So this lockdown started on 21st March. So our team finished the balance sheet without coming to office on date or before time. So that is the digitalization. I can say yes, they did everything sitting at their home. So this is a great learning for my team and for us also. We can make our balance sheet without coming to office, not only on Sunday, even not coming on the working day also. So that is the one part I can say. It's going to be a lot of changes are going to happen with practical experience. Otherwise, we were not mentally prepared. We can make balance sheet without coming to office. We can't think rather. Second part, I will say, because we all are sitting at home, our management, we and my team is also sitting. Zoom, I think it's a lot of new experience. We have taken the connection from Zoom also. Otherwise, it's not 40-minute, I think scheduler was there. So one great learning, we can do everything. Even in our office yesterday, we were having meeting only in Zoom. We are sitting on different floor, but we were doing everything on Zoom because we have fear factor also. I think that pressure is coming to everyone. No one want to see in person to anyone. So that is a great learning with practical. Yes, things are workable. Digital is the, I think, lifeline for the organization and for individual also. I think we can start at home also, sitting in different room with each other. Yes, we are talking only on Zoom. I think fear factor is like that. So it's a great change we are seeing. But I think another good part, now all meetings start on time. That in my context, I can say In physical meeting, we generally used to start meeting 15 minutes, half an hour late. So now a meeting, if it's a 4 p.m. time, so we'll start at 4 p.m. Yes, end is not there because we can extend the time. But that these all are the good learning point which we have learned in these 2 months. But digital, of course, we can do everything except manufacturing part. We can't produce the goods. That is a challenge. We are doing billing, we are doing business, we are taking, I think, order, we are doing everything. But physical manufacturing is a separate part. But otherwise, from corporate point of view, we can do, I think, 60% work easily, and lot of advantage we can see in coming time.
Yeah.
Anshul, just to add what
Yes.
Batraji was saying, so I will give you a practical example of my company. So in our company, there are two maximum, I would say, large component of expenditure. One is salary, other is travel. Salary is about 70% because people are raw material and machinery and everything. And roughly 25% is a travel cost. Okay. Now, in these last 2.5 months, there is no travel. And believe me, there is a better efficiency. There is no cost or as good as zero cost. And result is the same or even better. So two of the partners in the company, they used to travel 4 days in a week. That means 16 to 18 days they are on road or on flight every month. Look at the pain to themselves as well as to their families. Today they are at their home and everything is getting done. In the last 1 month, I have attended 3 EGMs for my portfolio companies over Zoom. And it was fantastic because in half an hour meeting is over. Otherwise, you have to schedule your travel, hotel, pick up, drop, this, and meal. So many things. Look at the logistics involved in that. So digitalization, I would say for good is very good. But at the same time, as Batraji was saying that even at home we should do. So I won't advocate that because at least there has to be a human touch. There has to be to be a emotional touch to the entire thing. But in businesses, I would say a lot of waste of money would get reduced due to this.
Probably not many people in the travel and the hospitality industry would like this, but I think yes, you're right that this is going to be the norm going forward. And I
So, Anshul, I want to add into this
please,
thing
sir.
2 points. Actually, I joined this new company, which is now we have the season month
Hmm.
because April, May, June is the season month for our product because we are in the asbestos seats, and that is to be finished before the rainy season starts. And we were worried what will happen to this because of the lockdown and those things, because there's no travel, this thing, and people are used to travel. And you will surprise that we are going to surpass the target in this month, and that is all sitting on home, everybody is sitting at home, and everything we are controlling on those things on the digital, be it a Zoom meeting, be it on phone, be it video call. And side by side, as Manoj said correctly, that the traveling expenses also is zero. So I think this is going to be the new normal going future, because everybody will now put into the system that do whatever the digitization you can do in meetings and everything. I was hearing that one interview of Mr. Hindustan Lever MD. He was saying that I was going once in a month to UK just to attend a meeting. Now he's saying that I am doing a meeting every day. And now I feel that even I will not go for 1 year, once in a year also. So if the person like Hindustan Lever MD feels like that, that we are much, normal against that. So that's what.
Sure. My next question to you only, Maheshwariji. As a CEO, what is your action plan of boosting your employee morale when the operations resume normally? And the lockdowns are looking to be probably getting over. Nobody knows what really is a lockdown nowadays, but
Yeah.
what would
See,
be your role?
yeah. See, as a CEO of the company, one is I have to give the confidence to my employees. That's very important. That whatever we are going to do is we will take care of your safety and will not compromise on the safety. That's very important. Once you give that, because as I think Manoj was saying about some that fear factor, somebody was saying in that. So fear factor is very important. As even I also have the fear, the same factor fear is with the employee. So tell them that what I'm going to tell them is whatever the SOP has been announced by the government of India, we are going to implement that, and we will follow that, and you have to also follow that. And same way, while traveling, also coming from the office to the home to the office, you have to take care of those things. That's what important. That's the communication. Second is, as regard the job profile and those things, that is going to little bit change. There would be some impact on working style and those things. But what assurity we have to give it, that no job will be taken. Yes, there may be some impact on your increments or the promotion or those things. Maybe 1 or 2 years, depends on your performance of the company. So that may be that. But we have to talk. We have to connect them personally. Because see, generally what happen is, a lot of, the WhatsApp messages are going on nowadays. This will happen, that will happen, they will detach, they will do this, they will do that. So considering that, if you do a better connectivity by phone or the communication, how you improve it, when they come to the office, you give a better communication, which that confidence I think they will be okay. That's what I feel we must do.
Sure. Now, WhatsApp universities are always known for good. I really don't know what are,
but people are believing it. People are believing it also.
but I think that's why they are called universities.
Okay.
My last question to all three of you, and probably you may say one by one. Maishriji, starting with you, Batraji, then you, and Manoj at the last. In terms of how do you foresee the people practices within the organization to change in the coming years once this entire COVID, I really don't know when it's going to end, but what do you see would be the change in the dynamics which we would see?
See, the practicing, as I said, I think the traveling would be minimum, only where there is essential. And the communication would be much, much faster, either on VCs and those things, and lot of, the action meetings and all the planning and everything will happen there. And I feel at the marketing level, a lot of changes will happen. And I feel that some layer will be removed, because, the presently what's happening is, why you need more people? Because you have to reach to the people, the dealers fraternity or the business partners, because they want to meet you personally. So that part, I think with this, the new normal, we will be able to do through the video conferencing or through the video call or whatever. And they will try to talk to the MD, CEO, or to the head of the sales and those things. And they will get the better, the solution, immediate solution. So that I feel that there will be some impact on that side. And second is, as this, the essentiality of working into the office, I think people will, as IT company has already started that 80% will work from the home or something, that may get transpired into other businesses also. That's what I feel, but that may take time, because we are used to of working on the paper. So computer and then this thing, that thing, I think that new normal you have to get adjusted. So that's what I feel.
Batraji, you had initially talked about this point in terms of essential and non-essential. So will the new normal be also taking into account essential and non-essential, or it would be back to the square one?
I think it will take time, Anshulji. It's not easy. This quarter is almost gone with some start of business activity, and there are so many constraints. Markets are opening, but there are constraints on the manufacturing side also. In our experience, I think the high value item we are not seeing much demand as on date. But basic slipper, there is a long queue. Rather, we are not able to supply. So in one company, we are seeing two pictures. One high value item, less demand, and another side we are not able to supply because laborers were waiting for salary. They got the salary, and a good percentage of people are going back to their home, and when they will come back, it's a different challenge also. So business is definitely going to be tough and different also. We see if you are able to achieve last year number, which is really tough. So we have to see on other front, because business growth, I think no one is talking about the growth. Degrowth, how much degrow you will depend upon. So you have to work upon cost front. I think we all are talking about the traveling and so many just experience we got. So when you are not able to supply, why do advertisement and marketing not required, travel not required, and work, if you can start work from home, you don't require space also. I think most of the company will work on the cost part so that they may maintain, or they may at least some, with some losses, they can maintain their last year P&L. That will be the, I think, intent of any organization, so that they may support their people, and people have to support their organization. I'd say it's a both sides sport is required to survive and then grow. I think next year will be a growth year, 21. This year going to be tough, I think.
It is a survival year. Manoj, your thoughts?
So I think there will be a new normal in many ways. So new normal for employees, new normal for employers. Service companies, I think work from home will be a new norm, which will continue even if there is no COVID now. Because those companies have realized that there is a better output, lesser expenditure, and at the same time, the expectation of maintaining the hygiene and all, it's really difficult to immediately change. And therefore, they would prefer that employees are working from home. That is also going to reduce their financial burden in many ways. As far as manufacturing is concerned, I think they would be needing more space, because if today they need a 1 acre space, possibly they need 1.5 or 2 acre space for the same number of people. So their demand of space will probably go up. Certain industries probably they will transform and they will undergo severe change the way they operate today. So for example, transport or hospitality, there would be some new methods which they have to adopt. So certainly this whole pandemic is going to change the way we are so used to over a period of time. For example, even marriages. So I am sure that people will really forget about having 1,000 or 2,000 people gathering in marriages. Possibly it's a new thing. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. I would say it was really wonderful listening to you. Over to you, Sujata, for some great questions I hope have been raised by the audience.
Yes, Anshul, certainly. We have received several questions from the audience. I would still urge that while I'm asking some of the questions to the, through the speakers, the attendees can keep on, bombarding us with more questions. So please continue to do so. Before we start with the Q&A session, just a reminder about our upcoming webinar, which is on 5th of June at 4 p.m. Best practices adopted by organizations as offices reopen. You would be hearing HR leaders talking about the practices that they have themselves adopted in their organizations. What are the things that they will be taking care of or being wary of when they talk about employee physical and mental health well-being? Also, how would they boost productivity so that the businesses can stabilize sooner than later? So please join us on 5th of June and hear our great speakers discuss on that topic. Now we'll be starting with the Q&A session with our current esteemed panel. So the first question is, how would the future approach of certain stakeholders of the company be like? Like, for example, of the statutory auditors or the banks, etc. When there is an absence of physical meetings. So in case when we cannot have physical meetings, then what would be the future approach of stakeholders of the company, like the statutory auditors or banks? So Batraji, if you would want to take this question.
I think we all are used to, and we have experience in last 2 months. I think we have finalized our balance sheet. The statutory auditor was sitting at their home. So whatever information he was asking, we were providing all the information either through scanning, through mail, and just to give more confident to him. So we were doing everything. So he has never visited our office, and we have finalized our balance sheet. It's a listed company also.
Okay, so even with external stakeholders.
Yes, same with banks. We released all payment to our vendor. We were getting payment, and everything was done, I think, online. So digital, I think that is helping lot to all of us. Either it's a statutory auditor or bank or anyone. So I don't see there is any issue on that part.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Batraji. So the next question is actually specifically directed for a speaker. Mr. Anshul, this question is for you. Will the work from home concept for manufacturing sectors be seriously successful? If yes, what are the areas that we should look into when it comes from work from home?
I would say I would just take a clue from what Batraji said. I really like the definition of essential and non-essential piece. I would say every specter of the organization has to be divided in. When we talk about work from home, I would say unfortunately plants have to continue functioning the way they would be. So it is not possible that you would have entire plant operations continue on work from home. But within a plant also you have certain elements, just like your R&D, just like your probably design functions, probably some level of a back end of a supply chain which do all the paperwork. Probably anything which doesn't has to do or affects the production on the shop floor. I think that could be a model wherein we could be looking at the shorter term. But yes, as of now, just like everything is visible, everything is unpredictable. So I think every organization has to create its own model. Some maybe probably definition of a manufacturing company probably would change in a way, because you have probably Relaxo as an example, which is making slipper and shoes, and probably there is something else which is making something different. So these all pieces, the definitions, the derivatives, but yes, certainly I think work from home could be experienced for manufacturing in some part.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Anshul. So the next question is for Mr. Manoj Agarwal. How will overall HR policies evolve as most of the present policies may get redundant?
So Sujata, I think definitely there would be an overhauling of the HR policies, especially policies around work from home, policies around leaves, because sometimes some people feel that if you're working from home, you don't need leaves. But that's not true, because you still have even more fatigue, I would say, and therefore you may need leaves. Work from home also require a whole lot of challenges in terms of how your setup is at home, because not everybody would have, I would say, a separate room, and because there could be many family members who are working, and if all of them are working from home, so all of those things will come into play. Similarly, for example, expenses related to internet connectivity and all those kind of things. So at the same time, there is no travel or less travel. So there would be an overhauling of those policies for sure, with a perspective that again, this is a new normal post this pandemic.
Sure, rightly said, Mr. Agarwal. In fact, in some of our panel discussions, these have been discussed over and over, not necessarily just the HR policies, but also IT policies and the business policies to say as such. It's not just about what is your work from home policy, but it's also about, ultimately, if you say that your BCP has worked, but it might not have been 100% effective, then a realignment of the BCP might be required. If you talk about data security, then also the IT policy needs to be relooked at. So it's not just HR policies, but holistically, policies of an organization would need a relook, a realignment to address uncertain times, just as we are currently in. So thank you for that, Mr. Agarwal. Maheshwari ji, the next question is directed to you. One of our attendees has specifically asked this question to you. How important and to what extent will off-site work be in civil construction?
Off-site work? Can you repeat again?
I'll repeat it, sir. How important and to what extent will off-site work be in civil construction? How important will it?
It would be important to the extent of, the planning and those part. Execution will be again won't be possible off-site. So that has to be on-site. But other things, whatever the discussion, generally, the architects or the structural engineers goes to the site and discuss. That part they can always have discussion on the Zoom meeting, and those things can work on that. But practically speaking, they few percentage of that would be off-site. and that is just a manufacturing type of thing. So 80% work has to be done on the on-site. That's what I
Well,
think.
absolutely, it's right. It will be a hybrid model when it comes to
Yes. Yeah.
civil construction,
Yes.
because there are things which have to be hands-on, which have to be,
Yes.
you have to
Yeah.
be physically there to do it. So
Correct.
that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Next question is for Batraji. How will unskilled labor force be managed in states where there are shortages? Operations are resumed. Unskilled labor force, how will they be managed in states when where there are shortages?
Then it's going to be really a challenge for any manufacturing setup. So either it's unskilled or semi-skilled. I think most of the people, either due to their fear or everyone want to go back to their home. So people are going to their home, and as governments are also talking, they will provide job opportunity in the respective state. So how it will be addressed, it's really not easy. And in our case, I think the experience which we are getting, they got the salary from company, they are getting support from government, they will get Manrega. When they will come back, it's really a tough question. I don't have any reply, but it's going to be a challenge for manufacturing company and those company who are more labor intensive, like footwear or garment. It's really going to be a challenge for them. One is the demand, second is the manufacturing. So both challenges we have to face. As on date, I don't see how it will be addressed, but yes, it's a challenge.
Absolutely. The thing is that we do not have a modern parallel for this pandemic. So we do not have any history lessons that we can refer to or see how it was dealt with in past. Maybe, God forbid, I would not wish that such a situation happens again. But in case something uncertain, unforeseen happens in the future, then maybe those people, I mean, the future generations would have us to look back at and see what was done, how work from home was managed, how digitization helped, and how everyone kept each other motivated and going. Yes, when it comes to the labor class, there are certain challenges. In fact, there are more than few challenges, and I just hope for them that these times get resolved soon and the operations are resumed, because that's the only way that they can be helped. So our just wishes can go out to them.
I think, Sujata, the most important over there is a trust. Okay. Because if the trust is back, now these people literally they have very little to do at their hometowns or villages. So they will return sooner than later, provided there is a trust factor which is back. What has happened in this whole period of 2.5 months, that the trust has gone. First of all, there was no clear communication to them for what period this lockdown is. So 21 days, 40 days, and 55 days, and so on and so forth. And once they are running out of money, at the same time they are away from their family. It's really tough. No work, no pay, and then they are out of 1,000 kilometers away or 2,000 kilometers away. So
Certainly.
they thought the best is to just reach home. Forget about what else or available or not available.
Yes, so
Otherwise, you
they'll
see,
always.
how can somebody dare to travel 1,200 kilometers on a rickshaw
I know.
with their father behind? So those kind of things are only due to that lack of trust in the system.
Yeah, so one thing is that they all, the skilled, unskilled, semi-skilled laborers, first thing is that they've gone back. Now the thing is, when you talk about trust, which is right, we have to get them back again, because it's only then that the wheels of the economy would start churning and start moving. They are the foundational pieces of all of our manufacturing setup. So that is something that the organizations have realized big time.
Just to add, Sujata, in fact, what Batraji was saying, in fact, if we see clearly that there are two levels of, I would say, migrants classes. One is more in terms of the industrial, and the second is more in terms of the real estate. So real estate sector was already down. So there was already a talk in terms of some of the real estate migrants moving to the industrial workforce. But with the real estate sector being completely down and this not down, so there the industrial sector cannot borrow the people from the real estate sector also, because real estate sector migrants were the first one to move and the industrial sector migrants were the second one to move. So it's a double whammy for organizations, particularly who are into manufacturing.
Yeah, so that's what, let's just hope that things resume back to normal soon, because that's how everything will get started. The next question is for Mr. Agarwal. Other than good communication, which is more important, the role of sympathy or empathy?
So I think one has to have a balanced approach. It's like this, that जितनी चादर है उतने ही पैर पसार सकते हैं. Okay, so you can't go overboard. At the same time, you have to communicate, you have to create a trust, and then make them participate in your decisions. In fact, the same thing is happening even with the government. What is happening, that there is no clear communication. Due to that, there is lack of trust, and ultimately due to that, you are neither in a position to basically say that you will give this, or not in a position you won't give this. So this whole thing is basically somebody has to look at it from the point of view of a very, very balanced approach.
Sure, thank you. So with this, I'll come to my last question, and I would rather request all of the speakers to share, maybe take 20 to 30 seconds and provide responses for this, including Anshul. So all the leadership, all of you have been talking about communication and how important communication is in building trust. But one of our attendees has very clearly stated that apart from communication, how can organizations now regain the trust of their employees? How can they motivate the employees? What is it beyond communication? So if we can start with Maheshwari ji, and then Batra ji, and then finally Anshul.
So, see, the beyond communication is again, we have to, demonstrate ourselves, because communication is one that we are telling this, and if you demonstrate that this is done, that is going to be done, so that will give the confidence more to them, because practically demonstration is more important. That's what I feel.
Okay, so practice as you preach. Okay.
Yes.
So thank you, Maheshwari ji. Batra ji, your views beyond communication, what?
I think fully agree with Maheshwari ji. Communication is the, I think, way of transparency, but real action is most important. When we were just dealing with this tough time, 1.5 months, and I went to my office on, I think, 6th May, first time. So when I entered my office, so the safety and the HR, the arrangement which they did, I thought I'm going to be a 5-star property with lot of property with 5-star hospital, not hotel. So that type of confidence I got. Yes, they're taking care everything, each and everything which is possible. Not only SOP guided by government, but yes, they were behind that. That's the one part, smallest part. But second is, I think when we were making, just thinking about the salary part, how much salary, it's a large manpower force in our system. So that decision was really tough, without a single rupee turnover or manufacturing and 20,000 people working in your organization, and how to address that part. So whatever communicate you give, that is the one part. If you give full money, that is another part. So your actions are most important for any organization. Even if without communication your actions are good, then I think that is better than only communication. So if it's a balancing communication and action, that is the best way to get more trust from both sides.
Okay, so now it will be difficult for Mr. Manoj and Mr. Anshul to answer, because your responses are getting narrower. Your options to respond are getting narrower. So Manoj ji, over to you.
In fact, I won't add anything new, but simple word में कथनी और करनी मैच होनी चाहिए.
सर कुछ तो और सोच लीजिए, अभी कुछ नया रिस्पॉन्स सोचिए.
No. So one is that, okay. So first of all, communication, then action, and third is basically while you're doing all this, eventually you also have to look at your actual resources which you have. So if you're forgetting about the resources, whatever you are saying, if they are not balanced with your available resources, eventually you will fail. So you are too good, you are communicating very well, at the same time you're also trying to do an action, but that action is short-sighted if you're not matching your resources with that. So planning and matching the resources with all this is very important.
Great. So great. So we've heard till now of this practice as you preach. We have heard that yes, it's like your actions speak louder than words. Then planning, organizing, and resourcefulness. So now over to Mr. Anshul to top this up.
There's nothing to top it up. I would be as simple. I would take from all three of them. So beyond communication, to be honest, there's nothing. So communication and actions have to go hand in hand, as Batraji said, as Maheshwariji could, and as Manoj also agreed on that. Actions have to be really, I would say, stronger. Communication, of course, I have been a professor, and some of the attendees who have been a regular in our Cubinars, they would have listened to me that I always say in these times, over communicate. Don't communicate, do over communication. I think the choice of actions have to be very strong. When it comes to employee, you really need to see, you really need to have to show them that what you are doing is from a futuristic perspective, that not only your job is safe, but also in terms of that the HR interventions which we ought to do, probably they are carrying on. You need to do your PMS for employees. Whether you do appraisals or no, if you don't have money, no problems, but get the assessment part of the PMS being done. That is very important. That reinforces a lot of trust of मेरे पिछले साल का मेहनत जो है मुझे उसका रेटिंग रैंकिंग तो मिलेगा, how I am being evaluated. I would say actions like that. Actions like in terms of getting done your entire, I would say development programs being done, whether it's a individual development programs or of your L&D. So don't stop the actions. I would say these are not, I would say, symbolic actions. I would say these are actions of substance also. And when there is a blend of a symbolic and substance coming together, it creates a lot of trust in the employee psyche that the organization is not doing a knee-jerk reaction. Cutting a salary is a knee-jerk reaction, but it's a well thought out action if you probably communicate it well, and also if you balance it out with doing the other 3-4 actions along with that. I think do it more. And one of the questions which was raised to Manoj earlier, sympathy or empathy, I agree with Manoj. Do a balance of both. So you have to be realistic, but you also have to be, I would say, practical as well. So this is my.
So thank you, Mr. Anshul, for wrapping it up so well. Now I take this opportunity to thank all of our speakers who have given us not just the insights, observations of their industries, the real happenings, and what is the way forward. But most importantly, they've given us time which is very crucial in these days, especially in digital time. So thank you so much to all of our esteemed speakers and to our moderator, Mr. Anshul. And I extend my thanks to my extended professional network which joined us on YouTube today and asked some very amazing questions to our panelists. So I thank all of my extended professional network on YouTube. We'll also be sharing a recorded version of today's Cubinar with you. And please make a note of our upcoming Cubinar. Please stay with us. Let's together make this time of quarantine a time of new learnings. So thank you so much. Over. Thank you.
Thank you, Maheshwariji.
So thanks to the Cavitri Values to give us the opportunity to speak on the webinar platform. So thanks, Anshul. Thanks, Anshul.
Thank you, Anshulji. Thank you, Maheshwariji.
Thanks, Sujata, for organizing it well.
Thanks.
All the best. Bye. See you.
Thank you, Sujata.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.